following the very useful video by hover motion of how to remove the body of this ESU Engineering Edition HO Class 66. I'm now going to carry out the promise I made to upgrade the speaker on this older model. This is a 2015 model, and these came with incredible features, but they had the speakers of the day, which were pre-Sugar Cube era, so they're pretty tinny. There are 4 Phillips screws in here, easy to remove. You could be very careful putting them back. Just being clear where those screws are. They are the screws there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Some very long screws come out. Die-cast body. So this is an old model. It's got a Loksound 4, and it's got some speakers I believe are traditional. Oh yes, and there's one there. There it is, old-fashioned speaker, so we'll soon get rid of that. And there should be one at the other end. So if you open up your model, and under those 2 capacitors, those black cylinders, there are 2 sugar cubes, then you have a 2023 model. And you don't need to do anything, they're great speakers. But this one is a 2015 model. Okay, so we've got one speaker facing upwards there, and we've got one speaker facing downwards there. Oh, that's one of those fine Loksound 3 type ones. This looks very easy. Look, I've got 2 speaker wires here. Piece of cake. Well, I thought I might be able to do this end without taking the board off, but no, you can't, because the speaker is actually trapped. He's got to go down the way to get him out of that hole. And then, quite obviously, at the other end, I'm going to have to also take the speaker out from underneath, so the board's going to come off now. Right, disassembly of the upper board to get out the speakers. This smoke unit has got a multi-pin connector here into the circuit board. I want to lift it with the circuit board. I'm going to assume that I have to remove that screw to do that. Oh, it's lifting up. Leave it. Now undo more circuit board screws. Okay, the 2 that are halfway up the board that are just gripping it have got white washers. They are longer screws, so just be careful that they're different and keep the white washer on there. A little plastic washer, and then you'll know which one that was. Just skim off all these wires before you get too carried away. Don't do anything aggressive. You don't want to break anything. Right. Look at that. That one's just ready for a replacement with some sort of tablet speaker. This one needs to be replaced. Well, you don't have to have 2 speakers. So what we'll do is, in a minute, we'll find out what these were in terms of ohms. There are a few options. Ooh, look how that oil has got everywhere. Okay, so there's a speaker. This is like removing a kidney if you're a surgeon. So here we go. We're going to cut this one off. I'm sure the white wires there will give us enough room. We're going to do a little test on this in a minute. Oh, I remember how awful these things were. We're going to see if this is 4 ohm, 8 ohm, or even 16 ohm. I'm keeping a really close eye on wires like these. Look how tiny they are. Ooh, they're small. Let's get the speaker up. Easy. This is great. That's very unwise, actually, what you see there. Ooh, it's a huge chamber. What you see there was a factory fitted speaker that was actually not screwed down. That's very unwise. If you do that with a decent speaker, a tablet speaker or whatever, it will actually shake around and buzz. So when you're fitting your modern speakers, you must attach them somehow. I'll have to figure out a way of doing that, which I will reveal later on. I don't like black tack, although black tack probably would stop buzzing quite well, but black tack, well, what happens to black tack after 10 years in the cupboard? I don't know. I bet it's not very tacky. There we are. Getting this guy out. He was a substantial beast with one of those sound enclosures that went round the prop shaft. There's a prop shaft. Okay, measuring the ohms of a speaker. First of all, you got to adjust your ohms on your multimeter until they're zero. At zero, right? So you see that's off. So I'll just go this way. 0. I will now get the 2 little tabs of wire that are left from the speaker. Look what we got. 8 ohm. 8 ohm. So what they've done to make the total resistance of the circuit only 4 ohm, they've wired 2 8 ohm speakers in parallel. Of course, I could have done that, couldn't I? Just gone and snapped it off its chamber and read it. 8 ohm. There you go. So, interesting statistics that you're going to need to know when you choose your replacement speaker. So that's 40 by 20 millimeters. Depth at the thin end, 5 millimeters. The thick end depth is 11. 11. I will call it 12. 12 millimeters. So 40 by 20 by 12. But at the thin end, only 5. So perhaps a tablet speaker is the best thing. Okay. 8 ohm. This speaker is fixed into its enclosure, not by screws, but by little plastic welds. In other words, they've just melted some little plastic studs to create a plastic rivet. Let's look at the other one then. Depth, well, diameter. Diameter was 24 millimeters. So if you were to put a square in there, like you bought a sugar cube, basically that square would be about 13 millimeters. So That's what you need to know, because you're going to be replacing with a cube, aren't you? No one's going to go and get a round speaker. So yeah, 13mm square. Get your sugar cube in there. You can probably use this enclosure as well, and I'd seal up that stupid little hole there. I don't know why they put that in. They should have properly sealed the chamber. They would get a much better result. And the thickness of that is 14mm. Right, so here's a very important point. You got two speakers in parallel. They were 8 ohm each. When you put them in parallel, that divides by 2. It makes 4 ohm. Do not get a 4 ohm sugar cube and a 4 ohm sugar cube and put them in the back in where they were. You will end up with 2 ohm in the circuit, and you would damage the decoder. So you got a choice here. You can either put in one 4 ohm, or you can put 2 8 ohm sugar cubes. Okay, so apologies if this lighting is going to flicker. It's now night time. I'll come back to this job. So I think the best thing to do, that anyone in their right mind is going to do, is actually just have one speaker, one modern speaker going forwards, one 4 ohm tablet speaker or something like that. I think you want to get it in this position where that one was. So probably you can buy a 20 by 40mm tablet that will just go straight in there. I'm going to actually use this enclosure. It's got a little slot for the prop shaft, and I've got a tablet speaker that literally is pulled out of a real tablet, and I'm going to put that in this shell. So I'll just take off the old speaker. So this thing here is actually it's from a MacBook. It's from a MacBook 2022 model, and it's decently loud. So I'm going to hack that and get that on there. But normal people out there are just going to go to your vendors like Mr. Rails and Rhodes and buy a tablet speaker. It's going to save you a lot of trouble. Okay, so the new speaker, a tablet speaker, is going to use this original sound chamber. I will seal that with isopon epoxy filler. I'll seal that little hole up there. The whole thing will be able to circulate air behind that huge sugar cube. Okay, so I've got my tablet speaker in. There it is there. Nicely bonded. It's in the original casing. Bit of a mess of the old isopon there, but it's a very good rock solid filler. I'm now pulling my 2 cables through the original hole. We're going to go to the other end of the loco with the wires. They're attached to the old wiring places here. Flux removal with alcohol. Okay, so I've put my 6 screws in to hold the board. 4 of them are short, 2 at each end. 2 in the middle are long. They've got the plastic washers on. Very thin plastic washer, don't do them up too tight. But then you've got one left. Why have you got one left? An odd number, that's very strange. The reason is the magnetic screwdrivers. The reason is there's also one to hold down the smoke unit. So that's why you've got 7 screws. Like the others, he's going into die-cast metal, so don't mess up the thread. Turn it back until you feel a little plop downwards. Then it should go in with absolutely no effort. If you're needing to use effort, stop, go back, go make sure your screw is dead vertical. That's it. Don't, whatever you do, try to upload one of the ESU website sound profiles onto this thing. You'll lose the horns, because this model here, the REE model, has a kind of British horn, this one. But the other Loco and the one that you have available on the website only has this horn. If you're in the lock programmer and you want to update the decoder, use this icon here. Do not ever click on this one, write the sound data. You will lose your profile, especially for the REE EWS locomotive. You'll lose the special horns. So don't update the sound profile, whatever you do. I'm going to do 2 locos. So now I'm going to do this one. And I'm going to put a different speaker in this loco, because that'll give them slightly different sound. This is a class 77. It's got an extra door here because there's no access down this corridor. So, same thing. Body away. The big speaker here. And we've got the smaller speaker here. Neither is a sugar cube, so they need to be modernized. I'm in the process of unscrewing the circuit board. What I've learned from the previous one is that we have vulnerable solders here and here. So when you lift this board, some of these might break, so you've got to keep a close eye on those. Now lift the board. There we are. Need to be able to get out of this speaker. I'm just going to go for it right now. There we are. He's out. He's out. Other end, this is the small speaker end. To give these a bit of unfolding. Okay, so I've converted the 2 speakers. The one that goes in there is now our bass speaker coming out of a laptop. And the one going in this end, in here, that's now a modern sugar cube type speaker with a side exit for the sound, and that's from an iPad. Here's the speaker. That's the original. It's a sugar cube that is in the original baffle, and it goes in that way under that board. Okay, so reassembly, you've got to be very careful. You cannot have wires on top of these notches here, because the inside of the body here goes directly onto these parts, so wires have to be taped down. Also, body screws come up through here, and they can catch your wire and cut it, which happened to me last time I did this. So glue down the wire there, away from, stick down the wire with tape, just there. Also done the same thing here, because these two holes here and here are body screws that come right through. And they will also cut your wires if your wires get caught up in them, which happened there. So take that down, that should be okay. Look at the other side. So the wiring goes like this, the series wiring. We're going from one speaker terminal. We're only using these terminals on the board for the sound. There's another pair up the other end, but they are for parallel wiring. So for series wiring or single speaker wiring, either, use only these. So the voltage goes out of this one into that speaker, through that speaker, out of that speaker, and then into the other speaker. It then goes through that speaker, back down this wire, and back into the other terminal on the board there. So that's wiring the two speakers in series. Okay, so I've avoided this wire touching that, and I've avoided it touching that screw hole. Although I'm going to put a bit more tape because that's not adequate. It still could get snagged by the screw hole, so we'll just put another bit there as well. So it's ready to go back together. We'll now put the screws into the circuit board to hold it down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1 for the smoke unit as well, so 7.